Hundreds of Tamika residents are continuing their occupation of Checkpoint 27. The torch for the 26th Southeast Asian Games has finally reached Jakarta. Millions of Muslim pilgrims, including more than 200,000 Indonesians, have gathered on the first day of the Hajj. Hello and good morning. This is the Jakarta Globe Hour with me, Bonnie Simons-Brown. Hundreds of Tamika residents from a faction of striking workers are continuing their occupation of Checkpoint 27 at Freeport's Indonesia Papua mine. The group is resisting police attempts to tear down their tents and barricades. The striking workers have been blocking the road to Freeport since October 10. The thoroughfare is the only way Freeport can access logistical supplies. As a result of the strike, the company's activities have come to a complete standstill. The strikers have vowed to stay put until their demands for higher wages have been satisfied. A spokesman for Attorney General Basri Farif has confirmed the discovery of a number of documents pointing to alleged corruption at the Director General of Taxes. Investigators from the Attorney General's office have searched the house of a high-ranking tax official. The Attorney General's spokesman, Noor Ahmad, says the investigation is ongoing as several documents belonging to the tax official have yet to be fully examined. Two suspects in the case, which is focused on an IT project at the tax department, have been identified by the initials B and PS. The torch for the 26th Southeast Asia Games has finally reached Jakarta. It was received by Vice President Budiono, who wished the Indonesian competitors good luck ahead of the Games' official opening on November 11. The torch was carried by 1983 World Badminton Champion Icuk Sugiarto, who passed it on to National Sport Committee Chairwoman Rita Subowo. The torch was then given to the Vice President and finally to Jakarta Governor Fauzi Bowo. Budiono asked Indonesia's athletes to focus on the Games and come out on top of the medal tally. The torch will be paraded around Jakarta today before being taken to Palembang, which is co-hosting the SEA Games. Critics of a campaign to support Komodo National Park in the new 7 Natural Wonders of the World competition are off base, says Indonesia's Komodo ambassador, former Vice President Yusuf Kala on Friday. He held a video conference with the new 7 Wonders Committee to respond to recent complaints. Kala said he was the one who asked mobile phone operators to reduce SMS tariffs to ₹1 for 7 Wonders voting. The funds collected from the voting will be audited and at the end of the campaign allocated for Komodo preservation programs. Kala stressed that his participation in the Support Komodo campaign had nothing to do with politics. Worldwide voting for the new 7 Natural Wonders will end on November 11.
Saya tidak menanggapi apa-apa. Orang berpikir apa itu seksi 2014 tidak urusannya dengan saya, terserah saya. Bagi saya, membantu masyarakat NTT apa salahnya kan? Masa selalu ditafsirkan politik? Tidak ada urusannya loh. Saya itu dikenal semua orang sekarang wakil presiden selama 5 tahun. Apa urusannya dengan saya dengan terkenal Leo Komodo? Kalau saya orang baru cari promosi Komodo boleh saja. Saya kan mana lebih terkenal saya atau Komodo kan? Saya tidak kenal Komodo.
In international news, the G20 nations are meeting in France, where leaders of the world's major economies gathered in another frustrating attempt to solve the Eurozone debt crisis. The G20, which includes the US, Indonesia and China, has decided not to provide more resources to the International Monetary Fund to support Europe's ailing economies until at least next year. Like Greece, Italy has effectively been placed under IMF supervision, with the country's Prime Minister Silvio Berlusconi welcoming the move. The meeting in Cannes also provided French President Nicolas Sarkozy with an opportunity to condemn Iran's nuclear program. He said France would not stand idly by if Israel's existence was threatened by one of its neighbours. Meanwhile, US stocks fell overnight, ending 4 weeks of back-to-back gains as political instability resurfaced in Europe and investors braced for a confidence vote in Greece after US markets closed. The Dow Jones Industrial Average was down 61.23 points, or 0.51%, at 11,983.32. The Standard & Poor's 500 index was down 7.91 points, or 0.63%, at 1,253.24. The Nasdaq Composite Index was down 11.82 points, or 0.44%, at 2,686. For the week, the Dow fell 2%, while the S&P was off 2.5% and the Nasdaq lost 1.9%. In Saudi Arabia, millions of Muslim pilgrims, including more than 200,000 Indonesians, have gathered on the first day of the Hajj. The annual holy pilgrimage began on Friday in Mecca as all pilgrims started their journey to Mina, east of Mecca, before heading to nearby Arafat. Pilgrims will later collect pebbles to throw at pillars representing Satan on the last day of the pilgrimage, the Eid al-Adha holiday on Sunday. This year's pilgrimage follows uprisings across the Arab world and growing tensions between Sunni Saudi Arabia and Shiite power Iran. Home to Islam's holiest sites, Saudi Arabia assumes the responsibility of maintaining a peaceful Hajj season, as Muslims from various sects gathered at the same place and time. And when we come back, we'll talk about what's in Jakarta Globe today with Chief Editor Bimanto Suwastoyo. Stay with us.
Thank you, Bonnie. And now let's move on to the Jakarta Globe. We would like to know what's happening in the rest of the world as reported by the Jakarta Globe. And I'm here this morning with the Chief Editor of Jakarta Globe, Mr. Bimanto Suwastoyo. Pak Bim, what's in your newspaper today?
Well, I have several news. The first one is about the plan of the Central Bank, Bank Indonesia, to issue regulation, or rather restriction, on credit cards, both in terms of quantity, numbers, interest, and things like that. The issuers as well. Credit card users, in the sense that we all know in the present condition we have people earning barely like maybe 2 million, 3 million and having 4 credit cards in their pockets. Something that they're not really able to afford. So Bank Indonesia intends to regulate also the banks, because we see increasingly that banks are very aggressive in promoting their credit cards, and they're not prudent at all. They just want you to get new cards, be a member of certain credit cards, without really studying, or rather looking at whether the person can really afford to pay
So what's
back.
the stance of the newspaper?
For us, we do welcome that, because there is a need for prudence. There is a need to protect the people from being trapped into the vicious cycles of having to pay debt. We've already seen several instances where this has become violent. Even.
Right. Any other major stories, perhaps, on the political front?
I don't think I've finished with that one.
Right.
The regulation will also govern or cap the interest rate that banks can impose on credit card customers, because we all know nowadays what's happening is the customer doesn't have a bargaining chance. He can't question how much rent are you interest are you levying on me. And what happens is banks also can what you can say is the what you can call as a double interest. You take an interest on an interest already, which is not supposed to happen. And all these things will be regulated. In other countries, this is clearly regulated. The ceilings that you can charge your customer, and some countries even set the interest rate that you can charge.
Are you surprised that it's only now that this measure is taken?
I'm surprised, not really, because we're all learning in these things, and I think it's a good sign that the Bank Indonesia is actually aware of the need for this protection.
What about the political front? Any major
On the political
issues?
front, we're still toying with the idea of reviewing or doing some changes in the constitution. I'm sorry, the corruption court, anti-corruption courts. As we know, we have had several examples now of courts, anti-corruption courts in the region, actually releasing and giving an acquittal for corruption suspects. Something that the initial corruption court in Jakarta has not been doing. They have a 100% track record of convicting suspects. There is a mounting discourse in the population, in the public now, that there should be some review done on this regional court, whether they're really necessary, or how do we get this court to actually perform just as well as the court in the headquarters in Jakarta. The chairman of the Constitutional Court, Mr. Mahfud, has proposed that this court, we do away with them, and then corruption cases should be handled by regular court.
The district
by
court.
the district court or
right.
the municipal court. The argument is that these judges know the law. They've been trained to deal with it, and it's just a matter of applying the anti-corruption law. So we don't need ad hoc judges or things like that. It does make sense in one side. The other side that is also a valid argument is that this state court, district court, already have a supervision mechanism ongoing. With the anti-corruption court, this is not yet clear. Some of the experts are saying that rather than disbanding and doing away at all with all this court, is just pick or limit the number of courts in the region to help the court in Jakarta, because in the words of one of the KPK, the anti-corruption commissioner, is that regardless of whether we agree or not, if the court is only limited to the one in Jakarta, they would be overwhelmed in a very short time.
Exactly. What any major issues on the regional or international front, perhaps?
International front, the G20 summit is ending today, I think.
Right.
It's much too early to have a
conclusion.
But we are all seeing the same thing, that every leader in this summit are in agreement that there is a need for some liquidity assistance to help the world deal with the current global situation. I think there's already an agreement that the IMF can provide such liquidity. Remember in 2008, I think they already came out, 2007, pardon. They came out with a liquidity problem assistance in the form of what is it called? I'm not sure about the name, but they already did it in the past, and I think this is the same model that they are looking for. Nowadays, we have much less pressure in Europe because of the Greece problem. It's been resolved more or less, in the sense that there would not be any referendum on the bailout package.
Perhaps you can also explain about the content of your editorial for today's edition.
The editorial is actually on the protection on the credit card protection. Basically agreeing on what I've said before, which is there is a need for a protection for both the consumer and the credit card issuers. It's a sector that has been booming. It's been growing too fast, and the regulation are still too loose. Yeah, we need some
tightening up a little bit.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
People should be able to have
Right.
credit cards and benefit from them, and not instead being trapped into never-ending debt payment, for example.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bimanto Swastoyo, Chief Editor of Jakarta Globe. And let's get back to Bonnie, please.
Feeling tired? Maybe you need to unwind to the sound of laughter at the Jakarta Comedy Club, a place where the jokes are the medicine.
It's been a rough week. You're tired, worn down. Maybe you just need a real laugh. It could be time for comedy. Once a month for over a decade, there has been a different kind of club in Jakarta, a place where the jamu is laughter, and it works. The Jakarta Comedy Club. World-class stand-up performers have made Jakarta a regular stop.
Good evening, people. How are we? A little bit different from last month. Obviously, we were down in the big room last month.
Playing Bali and Jakarta for 3 nights a month. This is definitely not children's entertainment. Risky and riotous. But if you want to forget the day, this might be for you. The Jakarta Comedy Club. Different comedians every month.
Hello, the American Club in Jakarta. It's very exciting, very exciting. I'm Janice. I'm Irish. Oh, God. Oh, what would you say? Oh, no, thank you.
The Jakarta Comedy Club is a member of the Comedy Club Asia. It's not only in Jakarta. Laughter is breaking out in Seoul, Singapore, Kuala Lumpur, and Bangkok. So are you interested? It's easy. Go to the website to learn more. Everyone is welcome. And if you think you're funny, you can even send in a video of your best material. Anything can happen. For more information, go to Jakarta at thecomedyclub.asia.
If you haven't pampered your pet in a while, it might be time to think about giving them some TLC. A shop in Jakarta caters specifically to furry friends of all shapes and sizes.
Pets are great companions. They can be our best friends, and for some people, they can be part of the family. Now we are at one of Jakarta's pet shop to check out some of the tips how to ensure our pets are always in good condition.
Owning a pet is fun, but especially in the tropics, it requires a real commitment. Lovely pets need special attention, from feeding to grooming to medical checkups, just like humans. However, providing them with the right care is not a hassle, as long as we truly understand their needs.
For the basic care of every pet owner, they must choose the right food and also the right place at home for their pet. So if you decide to have a pet at home, you have to think first whether the environment and the place is suitable for your pet or not. That's the most important thing at first. And then a regular checkup by vet is also important.
As the rainy season approaches, fleas and ticks can be a real challenge for pet owners. Vigilance and care are needed to prevent these pests from digging into your dog or cat and infesting your home.
Grooming regularly is once every month or every 2 weeks. Depends on the condition of the pet and the environment.
These days, dressing up pets with fashion clothing has become very popular. It's silly, and is it the right thing to do?
In Indonesia, especially in Jakarta, where the weather is quite humid and hot, fashion is not really important because